Ever since the ancient Sumerians were writing down the Epic of Gilgamesh, human beings have been obsessed with the idea of immortality. But what was once purely mythological? Well, it's officially entered the modern laboratory, the venture capital pitch deck, and the Neuroscience journal. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are exploring the very real world of digital immortality. We're talking about the actual science of preserving, continuing, or even simulating a human mind.
Now, to really wrap our heads around why this is happening right now, just look at this staggering number, 30 million. That's the estimated number of deceased user accounts on Facebook today. 30 million! Very soon, we are literally going to see more dead users on these platforms than living ones. We have crossed this bizarre threshold where you can be biologically dead, yet virtually active. And honestly, technology is no longer just settling for passive.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The new digital afterlife. 2. Engineering a human mind. 3. The consciousness roadblock. 4. The business of grief. And 5. Our immortal future.
All right, part 1. The new digital afterlife, AI and the modern mourner.
You know, while the ancient Egyptians preserved the physical body to reach the afterlife, today's tech companies are all about preserving data. We've basically moved from spirituality to fine-tuned language models. Have you heard of grief bots or dead bots? These are AI systems trained on a deceased person's texts and emails to simulate an actual conversation with them. And this isn't some far-off science fiction. It is a commercially available reality right now. Take Michael Baumer, for example. Facing a terminal cancer diagnosis in 2024, he worked meticulously with a company called Eternos to build his own legacy digital twin. He fed it his memories, his speaking cadence, his entire style of thinking. And why? So that after he passed, his digital avatar could, in his wife's own words, calmly explain the world to her through a voice chatbot. Now, the AI obviously doesn't possess his actual mind, but it predicts exactly how he would react in any given conversation.
Moving on to Section 2, Engineering a Human Mind, the ultimate brain copy.
So there is obviously a massive leap between just mimicking a person's texting style and genuinely copying their conscious mind. To do that, to literally upload a brain, you first have to map its physical wiring. It's a field called connectomics. Let's look at how this builds over time. Back in 1986, scientists mapped a tiny worm with just 302 neurons. Fast forward to 2024, and the Flywire project successfully mapped an adult fruit fly brain, which has roughly 140,000 neurons. And by the 2030s, researchers project that mapping an entire, complete mouse brain is actually going to become feasible. The progress here is absolutely incredible.
But here is the mind-bending reality check. 86 billion. That is the number of neurons in a human brain, connected by up to 500 trillion synapses. To put that massive scale into perspective, reconstructing just a single neuron in a fruit fly currently costs over $200. Actually, scratch that. At that rate, uploading your mind would cost more than the entire GDP of planet Earth. For this to even be a realistic conversation, that cost needs to drop to a fraction of a penny per neuron. We are orders of magnitude away from human-scale mapping.
But if we ever do get there, whole brain emulation basically relies on 4 staggering steps. First up is brain acquisition, getting a high-resolution 3D map. Right now, that literally means destructively slicing the brain tissue nanometer by nanometer. Second is connectome reconstruction, which is computationally assembling all those tiny slices back into a 3D wiring diagram. Third, functional modeling, taking that static map and turning it into a dynamic simulation that actually processes information. And finally, instantiation, actually running that emulated brain inside a computer environment.
Which brings us to Section 3, the consciousness roadblock, the hard problem.
Let's say we do it. Let's say we perfectly simulate a brain inside a supercomputer. We immediately slam into this massive philosophical wall about personal identity. On one side, we've got psychological continuity theory. This is the idea that if your memories and your personality are preserved digitally, well, that digital entity is you. It's a lot like the ship of Theseus thought experiment, right? If you replace every single plank of wood on a ship over time, is it still the same ship? But on the exact opposite side, we have embodied cognition. This theory argues that your mind isn't just trapped in your brain. It needs physical hormones, a beating heart, real-world sensory feedback. So if you strip away the body and stick the brain in a digital vat, you are absolutely not preserving the full person.
Now, what's really interesting here is this idea of the P-zombie, or philosophical zombie. This perfectly highlights what philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness.
See, we know how to map the mechanics of the brain, sure, but science right now cannot explain why any physical process results in a subjective inner feeling. Because of this massive explanatory gap, we might build a perfect digital replica of someone's brain, and it might talk and act exactly like them, but it might just be happening in the dark. The lights are on, but nobody is actually home inside. So I really want you to ask yourself this. If you were interacting with a digital avatar, and it has all of your deceased loved ones' memories, it laughs at their favorite jokes, it speaks in their exact voice, but it possesses absolutely zero inner emotional experience, is it still them? Or are you just interacting with a highly convincing illusion?
Let's look at Section 4, the business of grief, commodifying the afterlife.
We definitely don't have to wait for the 2050s to see how this impacts society, because it is being commodified right now, today. For as little as $10, platforms like Project December allow users to simulate text conversations with the deceased. Then you have companies like Hereafter AI and Eternos, who are actively creating voice avatars and full AI digital twins. Make no mistake, this isn't just some niche science fair project. Hundreds of millions of dollars in venture capital are pouring into this grief tech industry as we speak.
So the crucial point we need to address is that this rapidly growing market creates some severe ethical dilemmas. First off, there's the very real risk of exploiting the grieving, who are obviously in an incredibly vulnerable psychological state. Second is consent. These chatbots are frequently created using a deceased person's data without them ever giving permission while they were alive. Third is this deeply disturbing phenomenon that researchers are calling a second death. Think about it. When an AI companion company goes bankrupt or a grieving person just can't afford the monthly subscription fee anymore, that digital loved one is effectively killed all over again. And finally, psychologists are really worried that instead of helping people accept loss, these bots might just distort the natural grieving process by creating a completely unhealthy attachment to a simulation. And finally, Section 5, our immortal future, timelines and realities.
So where is all this actually going? Let's clarify the realistic roadmap based on current scientific projections. Right now, heading into 2026, AI dead bots are a firm commercial reality. As we move into the 2030s, computing power and connectomics might actually allow for the functional simulation of a mouse brain. But human mind uploading? That remains highly speculative for the year 2050 and beyond. We are literally decades away, at minimum, from mapping the full human connectome, let alone solving the hard problem of consciousness.
And this brilliantly illustrates the tension we're facing. We are entering an era where avatars and voice clones are going to shape buying decisions and societal norms long after a person's biological death. In China, for example, the company SenseTime recently featured a video chatbot of its late founder at an annual meeting, and the avatar was up there speaking about events that happened after his death. It's wild. The legal and ethical frameworks of our society simply are not ready to handle a world where digital ghosts have an active social status.
As these technologies mature and the line between your biological life and your digital data just completely blurs, what will your digital footprint say when you can no longer speak for yourself? Will it be a comfort to your family, a tool for a corporation, or just a ghost caught in the machine? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking those big questions, and I'll see you next time.